You found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, we're going to talk about Pat Beverley having his first press conference and kind of the thing that he said there. And then we're going to talk about an update to Jaovnte Green's injury. Plus, Demar Derozan says you should be required to play 78 games to qualify for MVP. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Today's episode was brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. That's Pat, the designer, host, and creator of the Windy City Breeze. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central. Pat, we got our first taste of Pat Bev and what it's going to look like of him coming into the Chicago Bulls team. He had his press conference. It was him, Zach LaVine, also head coach Billy Donovan all spoke. I'm going to turn it over to you. What did you walk away feeling from this press conference?
That we have confirmed what we thought coming in. Pat Bev is here for one reason and one reason only. As he said, I'm on Zach LaVine. I felt right, like Pat Bev came into their press conference. You know, he's talking about stuff with the family, talking about how he feels, talking about all these different things, right? But then the main thing, how did it feel getting out there to play? And basically he told Zach, they don't have you here to pass. That's what I'm here for. You're supposed to be scoring. You're here to score. You're a scorer. Go score. And the fact that we're already hearing these stories come out tells me everything I need to know and raised a little bit of concern with me, right? Because Pat Bev did drop a small line. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Pat Bev dropped he said, I played with James Harden.
Bro,
I played with LeBron James. I played with all these guys, and I've had to tell them the exact same thing. Anthony Edwards. And the greats respond to it. And if you don't respond to it, then you ain't one of the greats.
Bro, when he took credit for some of those players being great, I was just like, hey, man, I understand that this is irrational confidence, but I kind of like it, bro. I'm not even going to lie to you, bro. I kind of like it.
It's not even that. I thought it was like, hey, Zach, listen to what I'm telling you. Are you not going to be that dude right now? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just sitting here. I'm like, is he saying Zach ain't that dude already? You've been here an hour. Like, hey, no, like. So I think that might raise a little bit of a red flag on maybe what he saw from Zach LaVine on day one, at least in his mind, right? Now, is that a red flag moving forward or a bigger red flag than what we've got already? I mean, Haize is wearing a whole hoodie of red flags right now. So that's where this Bulls team is at. You know what I mean? That's where this Bulls team is at right now. What do you think, dog?
I mean, I didn't. It was wild that he said that, but then when Zach LaVine came out and Zach's even kind of like, yeah, well, he doesn't want me to shoot at all. He doesn't want me to pass at all. It kind of just, pass it off. I think they understand. Like, Patrick Beverley's just so Chicago, it's ridiculous. But I'm gonna read
the whole press conference, bro.
Yeah,
you can do that now. It's legal.
And then Zach in this said, maybe a lot of you guys don't know, but I was trying to get Pat here at least a year or two ago. He's just somebody you hate to play against, but love as a teammate. So yes. I think that really brings it together as far as like how at least Zach LaVine views him. And then Pat Beverley also talking about the relationship he already has with DeMar DeRozan. So there's connections there. And I do think that he is going to be respected. I just don't know if he's going to be tuned out with that being so Chicago. One of the things Billy Donovan said in his presser, though, was that trying to find the right role for Pat Bev, and even did mention starting as a possibility there. So I'm going to throw that to you here. Hearing head coach Billy Donovan say, is that starting? Is that coming off the bench? Is that Billy Donovan just covering all avenues? Or do you think that the Bulls may be seriously looking at this and saying, maybe we do start Pat Bev over Io?
We're not bringing in a guy here who's played 15 minutes a game and we're trying to make the best of him, right? Like Pat Bev's been playing 30 minutes a game out in LA. He's been the starting point guard. He still has that ability to go out there and do that. What's he, 33 now? Shut up, Steve-O. And you just know he's already got a comment lined up for me with the age. I always say, what's his 33? If he way over or way under, I think he actually is 33. Shut up, Steve-O. But I think that starting is a real possibility. Now, is that the best option? I don't know. But Pat Bev is still a solid defender on the floor, whether you think it's actual defense or not. You've been willing to start Alex Caruso in that point guard spot, and I think Pat Bev brings you a little bit more of a true point guard type. And hear me out. When I say true point guard, I'm not saying like a Chris Paul true point guard. I'm saying a true point guard in the sense of that's the only position that man plays. Like, he's only a point guard, so he's going to go out there. He's going to facilitate the offense. He's going to run the offense, whether that turns into being good or bad. That's yet to be seen, but he is a point guard. He is 6'1". He has no other positions he could play on the floor. Billy Donovan, don't you put him in at center.
I was about to say, now you do know he started as shooting guard for like 25 games for the Lakers, right?
For who?
For the Lakers. This season, he's played shooting guard for the Lakers this season.
Yeah, exactly. You saw how that went. You saw exactly how that went. Like, what are we talking about right now?
This is Billy Donovan. Like, Patrick Beverley is our new backup center. Don't even worry about it, bro.
He might play center. He's gonna throw him out there. I guarantee you, Pat Bev's on the floor guarding a forward at some point in the next.
Oh, bro, it's like he's gonna be switched on Jokic at some point, bro. It doesn't,
hey, bro, and get a steal. But I think that the thing is that's all that validates Billy. Like, they always get a steal, and it's like, see, it wasn't a bad matchup. Yeah. But I think that there's a real possibility of him being the starting point guard on this team, good or bad. Just more so, just based on the fact that I think a lot of what we've seen, right? Like, Ayo Dosunmu's not a point guard, and Patrick Beverley is. So I think that it literally just comes down to that at this point.
That's fair. I mean, we'll see. I didn't necessarily expect to hear that, but hey, I mean, if Billy Donovan's looking at it and he thinks that that's the best situation, then it is what it is. That may also motivate. I would assume don't put it past Billy Donovan to say something in a press conference, kind of wake some people up and motivate and use the momentum of a new player coming in here to motivate some people. So that's what I think. Overall, like, coming out of this, did this change your perspective at all on the Patrick Beverley signing, or did it kind of for me, it solidified what I already thought. Like, everything he said in that interview, and then have Zach LaVine come out. Zach LaVine was also, I love how, I think it was Casey Johnson was like, oh, Zach's in and out. Like, he just literally, Zach came in, said what he needed to say, and then got up.
I want to know what wasn't said, because did you hear at the beginning, like, when Casey's hugging Pat, like, seeing him again, it's been a while, man. Remembering Pat's like, hey, chill. It's like, what was Casey finna say, bro?
Oh,
what happened the first time you were here?
Bro, speaking of, as we're talking about Chicago, I don't know who, because it wasn't Casey Johnson. Somebody had asked Pat Beverley. They started off the question by saying, over the past 2 seasons, you played with like 6 teams.
That was Sam. That was Sam.
And then Pat was like, Pat Bev was like,
4.
It's been 4 teams. And he's like, well, I mean, over your career, he said, well, then you should have asked the question that way. That's not how you asked the question. I'm like,
yeah. That was definitely Sam. I was listening on that.
Wasn't also Dalen Terry in his introductory press conference? Sam Smith asked him, he's like, hold on, wait a second.
Because Sam be asking, here's the thing, Sam asks questions like a real reporter. Shout out to Sam. We got to get Sam on the show. Sam asks questions like a real reporter. So he's sitting here, and he's not wrong. Patrick Beverley has been on 6 teams, I believe.
Yeah.
But he hasn't played for every one of those teams. So that's what Sam was saying. But dog, I was dying laughing at that. The one thing I will say is that I like you said, I think it confirms what we thought, right? It confirms that he's here for Zach. Like literally, AK said on the phone, we need you to put a battery in Zach. He had to. He's here for Zach LaVine, to piss Zach LaVine off and get Zach LaVine playing like the player that he's supposed to be playing like, and not the dude that's crying at the end of games about things not going his way. You make things go your way. You're that guy. And we've seen him be that guy. But I think the thing is, we don't see him be that guy on a night in, night out basis. It blows my mind. Again, like we talked about before we got to the All-Star break. When Zach LaVine decides to I'm sick of the refs giving me a call.
That's it.
I'm better than you. I'm going to go through you. He gets to the bucket and gets a lay.
Yeah.
And so I think you need that with Pat the entire time. And I think also the fact that Pat Beverley will tell Zach LaVine on the floor, give me the ball. Like, you go over there, go be light skinned over there for a second. You Demar, you go over there, you go be Compton over there for a second. All right, let's set this mug up.
That's funny. But all right, next up, we're going to talk about something else that came out of this interview, and that's an injury update on Jaovnte Green. But before we do that, I got to talk to you guys about our partner, FanDuel. The midway point of the season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet does not win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and threes drain. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with same-game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Oh, man. All right, Pat. So, as has been typical of the Chicago Bulls season, we get our injury updates from our head coach, Billy Donovan. He's the only one that's transparent and tells us what's going on. So in this press conference, after Pat Bev, he was asked about Jaovnte, and he said Jaovnte is still about 2 weeks away from being cleared for contact and a return to practice. So that's the biggest update we've gotten on Jaovnte since them saying he was going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, and then they let that 6-week period go by and waited a month before we finally got an update. What do you think about Jaovnte missing another 2 weeks? That would put him coming back with roughly about 15 to 18 games left in the season when he does come back. That's if he's immediately able to come back to basketball in that 2 weeks to game time. What do you think that means for the ending of Jaovnte Green's season?
One, the Bulls defense is going to be wild because you're going to have 3 dudes that are just bulldogs out there at some point. 4, literally.
4 possibly.
Caruso,
Pat Bev
out there.
No, I'm saying Caruso, Pat Bev, Jaovnte, and Drummond.
And Terry. Give me some Terry time. You want the
lineup to be Terry? Listen, that's
a
5-man rotation that I don't know how much they score. I don't know how much they score, but you're gonna have to fight for every point that the opposing team offense gets, bro. But go
every
ahead.
point, we just fighting for real. Like somebody's gonna fight. Like there's a fight. Like, yeah. No, I think that you can't rely on where he's gonna come back at and just expect him to jump right back in and be able to be the same dude. Because it is the same. It's a very similar injury to what Lonzo Ball is dealing with, minus the bone bruise, basically.
And let's knock on some wood. Yeah. Let's keep that. As long as there's no bone bruise, we're good.
That ain't wood, but I'm just knocking. Okay. But I think the thing is that you can't. You're at the point right now in this season where the people you have are who you have to count on. I hope Jaovnte comes back. If he comes back, what did we say? He's another little bit of garnish. It's a team full of garnish right now. He's a little bit more garnish on top. I hope that he's able to come back 100%. I hope he's able to, and more so just for Jaovnte than the actual Bulls, right? Because he's going into a contract year. I would hope that he's going to be able to get on with another team. I wouldn't want him to have to stick around with the Bulls because he was only able to go get $2 million on the market. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that it changes much of your season right now. And I think the biggest question is honestly, right, like if he comes back, is he even back in the rotation? Are you going with him over who?
I mean,
Terry?
Terry,
I guess.
Terry. When he's healthy, he's definitely going over Terry. And I mean, really, he's the only.
Terry's not really part of the rotation either. He's just kind of.
He's probably going to be as long as Derek Jones Jr. is out as well. But I think we're going to go back to seeing that by committee, like with him and Derek Jones Jr. is going to be whatever they need for the matchup and whoever's playing the best. But I do think you hit the nail on the head there in a way too by saying that there's a complete possibility that when Jaovnte comes back, the minutes are scarce for him initially, at least while he's working his way back. Now, once he does get back in rhythm, then we've seen Billy Donovan loves Jaovnte, and I think he's going to get minutes. He's going to be in that pecking order. It just depends on, how soon is he able to really go out there and play like Jaovnte Green.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that's the one part to me that I look at, and because Javante's hard hustle and muscle. That's the part for me where I'm like, okay, how much hustle can you really give coming back off of that? And I also don't want you to go out 110% and you re-injure yourself or you do something more to yourself, right? The one thing that I love is Jaovnte hasn't missed a beat. He's been a part of this team. He's been on the bench with the Bulls. He hasn't gone anywhere. He's out there in a new unnamed jumpsuit just about every night. Like, I mean, you don't have to look like you sell CDs out of the back of your car in the 90s. You know what I mean? You don't have to look it.
Jaovnte is the Jordan plug, bro. Right out of his trunk. He's
Jaovnte looked like he sold the shoes that you be like, he did that dunk too. You're like, wait a minute, dog. Like, that's not you can't give me the cradle for. I'm like, wait a minute. You can't give me the cradle. Nah, he did that dunk too. Them still Jordans. But yeah, I don't see Jaovnte Green. I think the toughest part is the same conversation with Lonzo. Like I said, how's he gonna give it? Well, that was almost bad. Bro, how's he gonna give you those minutes? That was that. I didn't say it. Just because it was almost there. It was almost bad. What's he gonna give you in his minutes, and how is he gonna be able to? How quickly is he gonna be able to acclimate himself back into the system? And does this carry over maybe outside of this season, right? Like, I think those are the couple of things that I always ask.
Yeah, I mean, with Jaovnte, his game, I really do think he can fit up in any matchup, and Billy Donovan will use him at just about any position.
He's the 5.
Yeah, it really just depends on how much does Jaovnte trust that knee. We know usually when it comes, especially to knee surgeries, no matter how minimal or evasive they are, it takes players a little bit to start trusting that knee again. Now, if anybody's going to come out there and just say, hey, listen, if my leg falls off, it's going to fall off, it's going to be Jaovnte Green. So, we'll see what that means and if it hampers him too much. But I do want to pick up on, before we end the segment, an interesting thing that you pointed out there. You talked a little bit about his free agency. Now, do you think him being 29 years old, going into his first time in true free agency, now coming off an injury, do you think that does it help the Bulls, you think, retain him? Does it make teams kind of come a little bit more off of him if they don't get an extent? Like, if Jaovnte never quite looks like Jaovnte again this season, do you think he still – because I think we both thought coming into this free agency that he's probably going to get a sizable offer from a contender using a mid-level exception. Do we think that now may change because of this injury and just the amount of time that he has left to really show that maybe it's not going to be hurting him going into the offseason?
I think that all depends on what he comes out and shows. I think that depends on what he comes out and he shows after coming back. Hopefully he does come back, right? I mean, how many games are we realistically talking about? He's 2 weeks away.
We got 23 games left on the season. So if we're talking 2 weeks away, we're talking like 15 games he's going to come back.
15? That many? How many we got this week? We got Friday.
Let's see. We got Friday. Yeah, we got Friday, Sunday, and then we got Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and a game Sunday. So that's 6 games there. So that there takes us down. And that's
so you're not talking about that much time with him getting an opportunity to show something. You're hoping that the Bulls are able to make the playoffs. You're hoping, and I think Pat Bev might be the battery that actually gets them in, at least the play in. But again, right? Like, what are you going to be able to show in a long enough stint to show, hey, my knee's 110% fine? Now, if he comes out right first play, Dalen Terry throws it up to him and he yams it on somebody's head, all right, he's fine. Yeah, I mean, he's coming out, he's playing aggressive defense. All right, he's fine. I don't think the Bulls are able to retain him in that aspect. But I think the thing I don't want to see is, right, we're able to get him back because he's still nursing it. At the end of this season. I want to go get your bag, brother. We got 3 of you literally now on this team. Literally, like, it's like Caruso, you, maybe 4, maybe a 6-7 version is just not as heavy in Dalen Terry.
And Terry Taylor now too.
Terry Taylor, yeah, I don't know what he is. He you know what I mean? Like, yeah. But I would rather see Jaovnte have an ability to go out there and get his bag than see him have to come back here. Granted, $2 million is still not bad, but on a deal that has to be a team-friendly deal because otherwise you're going to be out the NBA.
Yeah, so we'll see what that means for Jaovnte's future. I'm still think it's bright, and I hope that he can come back and make an impact for the Bulls before we get out of this season, because Lord knows, bro, we need some of that energy. I miss seeing Jaovnte just yam on somebody every once in a while, bro.
Man,
no regard for human life.
Just seeing somebody throw the ball up and you be like, man, who you throw? Oh my God, bro. Like,
bro,
Jaovnte.
it's so many times where he comes into frame in the air and you're like, where was he at?
Even the players on the court, bro, just like, y'all seen that? Did y'all see that come through? I miss 5 Jaovntes out there, man. I miss that.
Man. Yeah, we need to see it. But moving into the last topic for today, DeMar DeRozan says that an NBA player should be required to play at least 78 games to be considered for MVP. So I went back and looked. Not considering the shortened seasons, right? Because the shortened seasons, there weren't 78 games to play, but using that same kind of metric. Basically, the only people that would have actually still won MVP at that point in time, Giannis would have won one of those years, Jokic and Russell Westbrook. Outside of that, Steph Curry wouldn't have won it either one of the last 2 times he won MVP. Giannis wouldn't have won one of his MVPs. Harden wouldn't have won one of his MVPs. That's a heck of a requirement there, DeMar. What do you think about that from DeMar DeRozan?
I think 78's high. I think that's a way that the NBA could utilize trying to get people to play more games. I think that's a way that the NBA could negate some of the load management that we're seeing, even though Adam Silver doesn't believe that load management is a problem. I think that you go somewhere around 70 to, I'd almost say 65, right? Because there are times, right, where somebody comes in and you're like Joel Embiid, for instance. How many games he played last year? What, 56? Something like that?
Something like that.
But he missed like an entire month or a month and a half or something. And you're just like, how's he still, like, he never dropped an MVP rating because of how great he was playing. But it was just like, come on, dog. Like, are we really having this guy? Like, you can't not give it to Jokic when this man had played just about all the season, and you're going to give it to Embiid, who's missed a month and a half or something like that. Like, so I think that that's the part where I'm not mad at it. I think they do need to have thresholds on some of this stuff to actually make it so that players are getting out there and playing, because clearly you need to find a fix. This is the one thing that I'll say. Your consumer is not happy with the fact that they show up to games repeatedly and guys aren't playing. And whether this is big business or not, it's still business. And if your consumer's not happy, you need to adjust to what your consumer's needs are. And all they asking is, hey, dog, can the dude I came to see play?
Oh, man. Joel Embiid last season, by the way, 68 games. I didn't think he played that many games.
He'd have got it. He'd have got it. I thought
he wouldn't have got
more time.
DeMar said 78 games.
Well, DeMar said, I'm saying
you're saying by your metric.
I'm saying by my metric, he would have got it. I thought he played way less than, I guess 68 is 82 games. That's still a good chunk of games, man.
That's like me. You was talking about it before. Almost anything over 65 games is a full season.
It's a full season to me.
Yeah, especially somebody like Joel Embiid, who's literally going to be in pain management his whole career. But I think it's a tall order, but I understand what the mindset that DeMar is attacking that with, like, and even you and the argument you just gave there as far as like play more. We want to see the people that you want to see the stars in the league. So, the way that I look at it, 78 is a bit high. I wouldn't mind between 65, 68 being the requirement, but it's we live in a different league. We live in a league also where they understand injuries and maintaining your body a little bit more than what they have in the past. But it needs to be something said, like durability needs to be thing, like the Iron Man of the Year. Something needs to be a separate award, because the players like DeMar, who usually play the most season, even a player like I think Russell Westbrook in the MVP season he won, or maybe it was James Harden, one of those two, played all 82 games, and it's like, hey, how often do you see that, fam? Like we need to reward the people who have that type of durability.
It's such a stark difference from what we came from, and I think that's the hard part. And listen, I think there is a part of it that is the organization protecting their asset, right? And JJ Redick has talked about that, where he said, that there's nights where they tell you can't play, you got to sit. There's nights where the medical staff just says, hey, this is a concern for us. If you play out there tonight, you can't go. And they tell these guys to sit, or they tell them pick which days that you want to sit out. And I think that is a part of it as well. But I think at the end of the day, right, like you have too many people. Now it's gone too far the opposite. You have too many people that don't get to 70 games in a season. And injuries are on the rise as well. I don't know if you saw that article where it's talking about injury numbers. No, injuries are like legit serious injuries are through the roof now.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing too, is that now I haven't looked at which ones are severe versus not, but there are more injuries now, but that is because there are more things that players are sitting out for, where it used to be, hey, throw some duct tape on it.
True, but I think that goes to organizations trying to save their guys for the playoffs as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But the other thing, right, like even to that, I look at, 2003, 40-year-old Mike played 82 games, 30 minutes a game. And now it's Michael Jordan. That's a different animal, right? I'm not saying that these guys should be held to that standard, but I'm asking you for 65. And there needs to be something that gives them an incentive to get to that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're now in a league where, maybe 15% of the league plays over 70 games a year? 20? I'm just throwing numbers out here, but I feel like it's not high. I feel like it's not. I don't even know when we might be able to find that stat. I got to look that up maybe for the next pod, but I feel like it's not high. At least among your stars, I guess I can't make that generalization on a league. Among your stars, I should say, maybe 15% of your stars are playing over 70 games a year.
That actually sounds feasible. It sounds about right. It's just kind of the era that we live in, but I appreciate the players that do play more. I appreciate the players that always tough it out. I'm not necessarily tough it out, but just stay healthy. Like that is you said it on last episode. The best ability is availability. And so the players that are available all 82 games for their team, to me, should be rewarded.
Yeah, for sure. There needs to be some kind of award. At a minimum, like you said, the Iron Man Award. I would love to see something like that, right? This dude came out and he was out there and actually making an impact for this many games a year. I don't know how the NBA fixes it. I'm gonna be honest with you. And the thing is, honestly, too, the game scheduling will never change. There's not much that's gonna change with a lot of this. Yeah. We kind of are where we are. So now the question is, what does Adam Silver do to combat it?
I guess we'll see, man. I guess we'll see. You know what? We're adding a mid-season tournament, so
and maybe that is it, right? Like maybe that really is all that you need. Like that adds a break in there, right? Like that changes the kind of game it is. I don't know. Again, I don't have an answer for it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have an answer for it, but you got to come up with something, and the solution can't be, I don't think we have a load management problem, because the fans are telling you have a load management problem.
Yeah, he took AK helped him prepare for that speech, is all I could say. To have a clear problem, say what problem? I don't know.
Hey man, we've got a problem. What problem?
What problem? You got a problem? Because we don't have any problems over here. I don't know what you're talking about. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. Load management? Never heard of. Never heard of it.
Hey, man, follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls, man. Follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Appreciate you guys for showing love as always, man.
Always, and we appreciate the support, man. You guys can follow me at CEO Haize, CEO Haize. We want to thank you for making Locked On Bulls your first listen today. Now for your second listen, go check out Game to Game NBA. Every breakdown, every game, local analysis, everything. They do everything over at Game to Game NBA. Watch it is a great way to catch up on things that happen over the course of the day. You can find them on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. But that's it for us for today. For Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. This is Locked On Bulls. Peace, y'all.
Peace.